Today I'm going to talk to you about a recent article that Thomas Olson and Ronald Millay has written actually to the latest to the editors of the J series on their recent findings on IOL power calculation. Now, what they have done over here is that they have reported the prediction error, right, with around 12,665 cataract cases with implantation of a single IOL type after a small incision standard phacoemulsification. Now, in this cataract cases, all patients had undergone the biometry with Hug straight, and the IOL power calculation was done with the Olsen C constant formula. Now, what they find is that, the prediction error, there has been a difference in prediction error from that in that IUL, with the IUL powers, from 6 diopter IUL power to 32 diopter IUL power. They find that the prediction error has followed like a sawtooth pattern. A sawtooth pattern means if you have seen a carpenter, working, they work with a sawtooth, right, to cut that wood. So the sawtooth pattern, you can see the prediction error with a 6 diopter IUL or up to the 12 or 15 diopter IUL is quite constant. But as you move to a higher power IUL, especially beyond 25 diopter IULs, you can see over here that the prediction error is more towards the myopic side over here, right? The prediction error is more towards the myopic side. So it actually follows a sawtooth pattern. Sometimes it goes up, between 15 to 16 diopters, it goes a little hyperopic side. Then it comes down and then goes up between 25 and 26 diopters. It goes again towards the hyperopic side and then it comes down. So beyond 30 diopters, it comes down towards a little myopic side. And they have been a little, worried about why has this prediction error been so erratic. I mean, sometimes it goes to the myopic side, sometimes it comes down to the hyperopic side, follows a sawtooth pattern. And when they went back to the company, asking them to provide the specifications of each of the IOLs. Now, what do I mean by this specification? They wanted actually the optic configuration. As you know, most of these IOLs, they're all biconvex. They're all convex IOLs. Uh, but the ratio of difference between the anterior power and the posterior power is not the same. So they wanted to have this optic configuration so that they can actually redefine or refine the IOL power calculation based on the optic configuration, right? And what they found out when they understood the optic configuration from this company, and they don't spell out the company's name here, but you can well understand, this is a 6 diopter to a 32 diopter IOL. So, you can well understand, I mean, which company this could be. But this applies largely to many different companies. The IOL power is constructed by keeping the posterior curvature constant while varying the anterior curvature, different sectors of power range. So what it means is that when they got this optic configuration from the company, they kind of studied the optic configuration and they found out that as the IOL power went up, say from 15 diopter to 25 diopters towards 30 diopters, they kind of kept the posterior curvature constant and they added more power to the anterior curvature, right, to the anterior side. And this kind of changed the principal planes of the IOL. Now, what does it mean? What do I mean by a principal plane of the IOL? And this I have given an explanation in my blog, quickguide.org. You can follow this article over here. Why present-day IOL box A constant needs to be changed based on thin optics to thick optics lens formula. So what I mean over here is that what is a thin lens formula? A thin lens formula like SRKT formula thinks that the IOL is so thin that it has only a single plane of refraction. So when the rays of light comes, it actually gets refracted only at one plane, versus a thick lens formula which actually thinks that the IOL may be thin, but it is not so thin that only all refraction is happening in only one plane. So in a thick lens formula, you have two planes of refraction. One, the anterior plane of refraction, which we call as the first principal plane of refraction. And then you have the second principal plane of refraction, right? Now, this is basically what, when you have the A constant, when you configure your A constant, say, for example, in a thick lens formula, the A constant would be from the cornea towards the second principal plane of the lens. But in a thin lens formula, the IOL power, your A constant will be from the cornea towards only one plane of the a single plane, which would be a little anterior to the second principal plane of the lens. So it would be since a thin lens considers only one plane of refraction, it will be just one plane. The A constant will be calculated from the cornea to that plane, which usually is a little anterior. But in a thick lens, the A constant is towards this second principal plane of refraction. For example, Barrett, actually it is the distance from the iris towards the second principal plane of refraction. Now this you can follow. Actually, there are a few articles over here which kind of gives you an understanding about the thick lens and thin lens formula. And based on this also, you will understand that in FDA regulations, in the US FDA, it is kind of legal to have a variation of zero point 0.3 diopters between 0 to 15 diopter of IOLs. You can have a zero point 0.4 diopter of variation in IOL power between 15 to 25 diopters. What this means is that if you are ordered for a 15 diopter of IOL, that power can be anywhere between 14.6 diopters to 15.4 diopters, right? So you can actually go through this article also to understand it more, difference between leveled IOL power and actual IOL power. So this is the tolerance limit of the different IOLs, and I'm not going into detail of this. So coming back to our focus on this, findings of Olson is that, what they're saying is that if you know the optic configuration of the different lenses of different companies, then you can build your IOL formulas accordingly, right? So what they're saying is that if the optic configuration differs a lot between 6 diopters to 32 diopters, if your optic configuration differs a lot, that is, your anterior curvature changes a lot from the posterior curvature as you move from a lower diopter of the IOL to a higher diopter of the IOL, then there is a chance of you getting erratic results, right? You might sometimes land up with myopic errors or hyperopic errors based on the IOL power you are implanting. And this is something that we need to remember over here, right? So I found that this is something very interesting and you have to keep this in mind. And this is basically, as long as we don't get this fixed, you know, it is a little difficult to get great results with premium IOLs. For very low diopter IOLs or very high diopter IOLs, especially with very high diopter IOLs. And remember, in short eyes, very short axial length patients, it's a little difficult to give great results to patients, right? Say, for example, a patient who's requiring a 30 diopter, right? So you have to keep this thing in mind, that, IOL power optic configuration can be one of those reasons that actually leads to wrong results, wrong outcomes with the premium IOLs in very short eyes. Other than the fact that short eyes might have, angle kappas, more of angle kappa in very short eyes or higher diabrasions in very short eyes. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Keep subscribing to my channel and do not forget to visit my website for more interesting articles. Thank you very much.